just because you don't see the change happening doesn't mean the change isn't happening. Just like this ice that's on this board, ice takes time to melt. Going from 29 to 30 to 31 to 32 degrees, that's the melting point. But you have to work your way up to that melting point. The ice didn't change because it got lit up with fire. It doesn't need intensity. You don't need intensity. The ice needed consistency. You need consistency. We need consistency. And the best results don't come from intensity. They come from sustained consistency. I had learned about the Ice Age, how the Ice Age happened about 5 times. I learned that while reading The Psychology of Money. And you're probably wondering, what does the Ice Age have to do with the psychology of money? And everything ties into behavior, right? A lot of people think that money is solely just numbers, analytics, but when it comes to money, money is more psychological and emotional than it is analytical and just about spreadsheets and numbers. So, to say the least, the behaviors that we do, the behaviors that we, implement, right, are the exact reasons we have the money that we have now. It's not necessarily just spreadsheets and budgeting, but it's also emotional regulation. So, how you behave. Like I said, in order for the ice to go and turn into water, it needed consistent temperature rising at a specific level. Same thing with you. You might have a temperature set for your money. You may think, okay, now that let's just use these numbers as an example. Well, I finally reached 29K in my account. Okay, now let's get to 30K. Why not? If we're at 29K, why don't we just get to 30K? So boom, you get to 30K, and then you get to 31K, then you finally reach 32K. And you're like, I'm at 32K, I can chill, I can relax. Subconsciously, your thermostat is already set. The temperature is already set for you, right? And now you go from being solid to being liquid. You go from being, disciplined to being undisciplined. But that's something that happens underneath the layer of everything else. On the outside looking in, maybe even if nobody knows that you have $31,000 or $32,000 in your account, you know, right? But just because there's no visible change, it doesn't mean there's no change at all. You have become comfortable, right? And that's a compounding effect. That's a negative compounding effect. But that same ice, right, that turned into a liquid, going from 29 all the way up until 32 degrees, that took time. That took time for it to melt. So if you flip that around, right, okay, now you reach 29 degrees, or let's just say 29K, 30K, 31K, 32K. Now you're like, okay, how do we get to 40K, right? Now your temperature is rising even more. And just like how this ice turns into a liquid, or this solid turns into a liquid, that liquid will eventually turn to a gas if you cut that thermostat up high enough, right? I hope you're staying with me. But basically, I learned about the Ice Age in reading The Psychology of Money, and they talked about how the ice didn't come from intensity. It didn't come from intense snowstorms and super cold winters. It came from ice that survived in the summertime, and it stayed long enough, right? It lasted long enough to survive the next winter and the next winter, and it just compounded, right? Like I said, consistency, not intensity, right? So with that ice accumulating every summer, every winter, it survived, it outlasted the heat. It finally had just froze the entire earth, and this happened 5 times. Like I said, I learned this reading The Psychology of Money. But back to what I was saying, that's the same thing as human behavior. Whatever you do that outlasts the rest of your habits, the behaviors that you do that outlast the rest of your behaviors eventually become the behaviors that you do with your money, right? If you go to the gym, if you eat clean, if you have a podcast business that you're working on, but you constantly go back to, drinking alcohol or womanizing, or whatever your downfall may be, if that behavior outweighs all of your other behaviors, if that outlasts all your other behaviors, that's going to be your downfall. That's going to be the temperature rising that turns your 32K, your ice, into water, nothing, right? Because, like I mentioned, money is more than just analytical numbers and spreadsheets. And not only just money, but your behaviors. I want this all to boil down back to your behaviors, and your behaviors compound. Everything is a lagging indicator. If you don't suffer the consequences of your behaviors today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, and it may not be next month, but a year from now, 10 years from now, you'll definitely see where it went wrong. But you don't see it visibly, right? Just because there's no visible change doesn't mean there's no change. Everything, it takes time to catch up. Your 3D takes time to catch up, good or bad. So what you need to do is just focus on being consistent, having the consistent behaviors, right? And everything else is going to be a byproduct. That body that you want is going to be a byproduct. That business that you want is going to be a byproduct. That relationship you want is going to be a byproduct. That life you want, that car you want, is going to be a byproduct, right? Of the behaviors and the thoughts and the patterns that you consistently input. Simple as that. But a lot of people discount compounding because compounding doesn't look like anything until everything happens, right? Like an NFL player, he may have millions of dollars right now, but he's spending. He gets jewelry here, a new car here. He wants to buy a Rolex for his girlfriend. He wants to get this expensive dog for his mom and buy his cousin a house. But visibly, it looks like he's doing well, but he's going broke. That's a negative compound effect. He's going broke, but he doesn't know it until it happens. It looks like nothing is happening, and then everything happens. Same with this YouTube channel. Right now, I'm sitting at maybe 90 subscribers. Thank God, we're almost at 100, but I'm at 100. I was just at maybe like 60. But if I keep posting videos, if I keep learning how to articulate myself, if I keep learning and bringing back my experiences back to the channel, I'll be at 1,000 subscribers, and then 50,000, and then maybe even 100,000, right? But it looks like nothing is happening until everything is happening, and that's the compounding effect. So we can't discount it. We can't overlook it. But the reason we do is because it surpasses the human logic. It surpasses, our intuition, right? It doesn't make sense until you see it happen. But it creeps up on you. It looks like an overnight success. It looks like it happened instantaneously, but it didn't. It passed your physical eye. It passed the visibility test. So if you don't remember anything I said from this video, just because you don't see the change happening doesn't mean the change isn't happening. Just like how you grew from a baby to a man, a grown man, right? You wouldn't imagine yourself being a grown man coming out your mama right now. That'd be absurd, right? But the change happened from when you were a few months to a year, then you were 5, then you were 10, and then your 21st birthday came around, but you don't see, of course you see them, you see these changes happening in yourself, but it happens so gradually, it doesn't seem like it's happening at all. So why do we continuously discount or negate the fact that this is just a principle, this is just a law, right? The law of compounding, right? This happens for literally everything. Your car, even my car, for an example, just because there's no visible leaks, I didn't see any mechanical damage, I'm thinking I'm good. I'm driving on the road. Next thing you know, the car breaks down. That's something that you can't see, but it doesn't mean that the car is running perfectly, or vice versa. It doesn't mean that you don't need to take care of your car. So that's really the main message of this video. I don't want y'all to discount the fact that change needs to be visible. Change doesn't need to be visible. And actually the longest lasting change comes from invisible outputs or invisible inputs, right? So Let me know what changes you've been going through. I've been going through a lot of changes, as you can see. I'm getting older by the day. You don't see yourself age. I mean, not as quickly if you're younger, but anyway, I don't want to make this video any longer than it has to be. But change does not require you to see it. Everything has to catch up. Everything has to manifest into a 3D reality, right? Even the cancer that may be inside somebody's body, God forbid, right? It's not visible until it just happens out of nowhere. And that's compounding. It attacks so aggressively because it's compounded. So just think about everything as a compounding effect, good or bad. Compounding is compounding. So I'm gonna just leave y'all with that. Hopefully I learned how to articulate myself better, but that's a skill that needs to be compounded as well. The more videos I make, the more I read, the more I speak, the more I write, the better I become, right? And it may not happen today, next week, next month, or next year, but give it about 5-10 years, or it may not even take that. Give it 100 videos. I may be able to articulate my thoughts and my words the way I want them to, so y'all can understand what's going on in my head. So, your boy Cameron Mitchell is out. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what I can work on. Let me know if y'all are liking the whiteboard. And then we're just gonna keep improving these videos.